Hello and welcome back to Authentic Alana and this Thirsty Thursday. It is my honour to be with you here today and to connect and share some information and knowledge with you today. Today I'm really excited to be diving into an overview of the autonomic nervous system, which we will get into really soon. But before we do that, let's just take a moment to check in. So taking our hands, placing them on our chest and belly, closing your eyes if that feels comfortable, or just lowering your gaze, or if it feels more comfortable for you, keeping your eyes open. Just taking a deep breath into your belly, up into your chest, and letting it out. Let's do that one more time. In through the nose, and letting it out with a sigh. And just notice what's happening for you. Drop down into your body. Notice if you're present or if you're not. Notice if you're ready to take in this information, or if you need to take another deep breath. Or maybe you need to shake it out. Just notice what you need and try to honor that right now in this moment. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and join us back here. So before we jump into some information about the autonomic nervous system, I just want to let you know that you may be noticing some changes about me, or a change about me. Yep. I've had my hair cut. So why am I telling you about this, you might ask? Well, as we're jumping into the autonomic nervous system today, and we're going to talk about the different states of the autonomic nervous system, one of the things that our autonomic nervous system is always looking out for is change. And often change for our autonomic nervous system means threat or danger. So I really try in my work and in my interactions just in general to name up when things have changed, because otherwise our brain is trying to search for that, our brain and our nervous system, and it can detect threat and danger when there actually isn't any. So I've had my hair cut. That might be what you're noticing is different today, and it's okay. It's still me. It's still Alana. I'm still here, and I'm still going to share some knowledge with you today. So let's dive in to all things autonomic nervous system. So most of my information that I'm going to share with you today comes from the polyvagal theory, which was developed by Dr. Stephen Porges. When I first came across this theory, I really struggled to understand it. I struggled to take the concepts in, to understand what it meant for me and for my work. And just in general, I really had trouble making sense of it. But as the years went on and I dove into it a bit more and I learned more and I grew more personally, it really started to take shape. And I then found Deb Dana's work, which really turns the polyvagal theory into a user-friendly model, particularly for therapists. I absolutely recommend you check out any of Deb Dana's work. She is absolutely phenomenal and has been a real guiding light in all of my work to do with the polyvagal theory and the autonomic nervous system. So as I share this with you, I'd just like to put a caveat at the start. And that is that our information and knowledge about the brain and the nervous system and how we work as human beings is constantly changing, and it is changing at a rate so quickly, it is really hard to keep up with information sometimes, unless that's all you do, which it's not all I do. So it's really hard for me to keep up with the speed of change of all of this information. So what I'm sharing with you is what I know now in July 2025, and it is with the knowledge that I have and with the understanding that I have now. There's always, disagreements in the scientific field about how things are and what is true and what is not. But I've found this information really helpful to guide me in both my professional life, working with children and families, and also in my own personal life. And I share it with you here today, hoping that it helps you in your experience of being human. So before we jump into the states of the autonomic nervous system, I'd like to start with the 3 guiding principles of the polyvagal theory. The first guiding principle is that of a hierarchy. And in our hierarchy, we look at the 3 states from an evolutionary perspective, with the oldest part of our nervous system being the parasympathetic dorsal vagal state. Now, don't worry about that jargon. We'll get into that a little bit more in a minute. But basically, as you can see in the chart next to me, it is at the bottom of the ladder. This was developed first from an evolutionary perspective and was all about collapse and shutdown. If danger was detected, the option was to shut down and prepare for death. Next up on our rung is the sympathetic part of our nervous system. This part is a little bit more modern in terms of our evolutionary perspective, and this was developed in relation to threat and looks at the fight, flight, and active freeze response in our nervous system. And you might have heard of these. These are quite a common thing that we hear about a lot today, in fact. And then the newest part of our nervous system is another branch of the parasympathetic nervous system that we talked about before, and it's called the ventral vagal. And this is where we're in connection. And this part of our nervous system is very unique to mammals. This sometimes part of our nervous system can sometimes be described in terms of the social engagement system, which I also talked about in our Try It Tuesday. And the social engagement system is all about how we connect with one another and how we connect with ourselves. So that is the first organizing principle, that of a hierarchy. Our second organizing principle is that of neuroception. And what neuroception means is detection without awareness. And when we are detecting from the inside out. So what's happening inside our bodies. For example, are we hungry? Are we thirsty? Do we need to go to the bathroom? It's happening in our environment. So for example, the lights, the sounds we can hear, the temperature on our skin. And it's also happening between us, between nervous systems. And remember right at the start, I said this is happening below our level of awareness. It's happening unconsciously. So moment to moment, our nervous system is using neuroception to detect what's happening within us, within our environment, and also between us. And then it makes decisions based on that information. So that's our second organizing principle, neuroception. Third organizing principle is that of co-regulation. Humans are wired for connection. We come into this world needing other people for our survival, literally. A baby is unable to meet any of its needs by itself, and it needs somebody else to regulate its nervous system for them. So, for example, if a baby is hungry, they can't get food. So they cry and the mother feeds them and their needs are met. If a baby is cold, they can't get blankets or warm themselves up. They can a little bit from inside, but they can't get things to help them warm up or cool down. They need others to do that. So this co-regulation, this dance of the baby crying and the parent or carer coming and supporting them in their needs, is all about co-regulation. And this is really the start of regulation. And we actually need this co-regulation throughout our whole lives, because as I said right at the start, we are wired to be in connection with other people. It is how we have survived for so many years. So that is the third organizing principle, co-regulation. So now that we have those 3 organizing principles, let's have a little bit of a look of the 3 states of the autonomic nervous system. We're going to start at the bottom with dorsal vagal shutdown. So as I said at the start, this is evolutionary. This is the most ancient part of our nervous system. It came online first and is all about the shutdown and collapse response. So from this space, it is all about conserving energy. It is basically in its survival mode. It is preparing us to die. All of our other survival mechanisms haven't worked at this point, and our body starts to shut down. Our heart slows, our breathing slows, our muscles relax. All of our body is slowing down. You can really feel that slowing, collapsing energy. This, talking about our nervous system, our dorsal vagal part from this perspective, is very much thinking about it in terms of our survival. So when we detect danger, we can move into this state. But this part of our nervous system also has a really, really important part, just as they all do, in terms of our everyday functioning. So this part of our nervous system can be known as the rest and digest part. In everyday life, it supports our homeostasis, which just really is a fancy word that means balance. It keeps our body balanced, and it works with things like our temperature regulation, our toileting habits, our gut, making sure our gut is working in the right way, our heartbeat, our breathing, all of these unconscious things that keep us alive. This part of our nervous system is in charge of. And when we can move into this part of our nervous system in a really flexible and balanced way, and all of these parts of our body will be working in the right ways, and we can really feel at our best. The second part of our nervous system as we move up the ladder, as you can see here, is called sympathetic. This part of our nervous system is all about activation. It's about mobilizing our energy to do something. So in a survival mode, it might be called fight, flight, or active freeze. So fight, as you can imagine, is some of those really big yelling, screaming, throwing, punching, kicking. These really big actions that are protecting us in a fight way, in a reactive way. Flight, as the name suggests, is all about running away. So running away from the danger, running away from the threat. And active freeze is a bit like if you think about deer in the headlights. So we might look like we can't move, and we're stuck. Actually, if you took a check inside, the heart would be beating fast, the blood would be pumping, your breath would be going quite quickly, and your muscles are tensed, ready for something. So in fact, you're not collapsing like in dorsal vagal shutdown. Your energy is still surging, but you're kind of stuck and can't move. So from a survival perspective, when we detect threat, we move into a sympathetic response and we try to do something. Can we fight? Can we run away? Or can we actively freeze to get rid of this threat or danger? This is from a survival perspective. But again, this part of our nervous system also has a really important part in our everyday functioning. For example, without some sympathetic activation, I wouldn't be able to be here, sitting here, talking to you and doing this video. We wouldn't be able to get up out of the chair. We need sympathetic activation for things like play, for things like sport, exercise, anything that involves some activation and some mobilization of our system. When this happens, our heart beats faster, our breath gets quicker, so we've got that energy. Our body releases chemicals to support that mobilization, our muscles tense, and everything gets ready for action. So anything that involves moving and doing involves our sympathetic part of our nervous system. And we need that just like we need the dorsal vagal part of our nervous system. We need both of these parts to function and to be in balance. Finally, at the top of our ladder, we have the ventral vagal part of our nervous system. This is another part of the parasympathetic, which is down the bottom, the dorsal vagal. It's another branch called the ventral vagal. So there's two branches of this. And the ventral vagal part of our nervous system is all about connection. This is when we feel safe enough, connected enough, and regulated enough to meet the challenges of the day, of any moment, any given moment. It's when we can move in and out through the day and stay connected to self, connected to other, connected to nature, and connected to the universe. This is we can look at this space like a bit of an umbrella, so we've got the umbrella over the top, and the ventral vagal holds that space with the dorsal vagal and the sympathetic underneath. And they all work together throughout the day to keep us in balance and to meet the demands moment to moment. Now, I'm not saying that we always want to be in ventral, okay? Because if we're always in ventral, we wouldn't be able to move through the world in the right ways. What I am saying is, moment to moment, we move through these states, up and down. You could chart them on a graph and you would see throughout the day how you move. Ventral, sympathetic, dorsal, back to sympathetic, up and down throughout the day. When we are regulated enough, regulated doesn't mean calm. Regulated doesn't mean always in ventral vagal. Regulated means able to come back to ourselves, able to come back to ventral as we move through our day. The challenge in our day and age is that so many of us are getting stuck in sympathetic and dorsal survival modes. We have less and less moments connected to our ventral vagal state, and more moments stuck in sympathetic activation or dorsal shutdown, with very little ability to come back to connection. When we are in a survival state, when we are dysregulated so much of the time, we think this is normal, but actually it's not. Chronic dysregulation, chronic survival modes leads to health problems, both physical, emotional, and mental health problems, and leads to a life that seems overwhelming, chaotic, and lacking purpose and meaning. I absolutely know that I was there. I was in this space for a really long time. And I believe as I move through the world, so many people are in this space right now. So, as we move through the coming weeks, what I would like you to keep in mind is that none of these states are wrong. Our autonomic nervous system works in order for our survival. Our thinking comes later. We are feeling beings who think. Things kick into gear without us even thinking about it. Have you ever been walking down the street or walking in the paddock or in a park and you've gone to step and you think there's a snake and you jump back? All of a sudden, your body's mobilized for action. Although sometimes we can go into an active freeze response, but you think it's a snake, so your body jumps back before you even realize. That is your autonomic nervous system at work. When our brain then kicks in, our thinking part of our brain, our cortex, we go, oh, actually it's just a stick, and we can move on. But that doesn't kick in until after our autonomic nervous system has already sent signals to our brain to do something because there is a threat or danger. So as we move through these coming weeks, please remember that no state is wrong. Wherever you are, I meet you there. Knowledge is power, and understanding this is a first step towards moving to more regulation and connection. Next week, we're going to jump into looking at the dorsal vagal part of our nervous system. Next week, we're going to do the same with the sympathetic part of our nervous system. And finally, the week after that, we're going to jump into the ventral vagal nervous system. So as you move through your week, I want you to notice the times when you jump into these different states. See if you can start to recognize some of them in your everyday life. Now, what I also want you to know as we move into this week and as we start to finish up this video is that our nervous system detects threat from lots of different places. And the threat does not have to be real. Remember the example of the stick that we thought was a snake? It actually wasn't a snake, but our nervous system detected threat anyway. In today's day and age, with overwhelming amounts of information, sensory input, and the never-ending to-do list, along with just the world in general, our nervous system is detecting threat and danger from so many different places. Our nervous system also detects threat based on past experiences. So we may be reacting to something unconsciously that we're not even aware of. So as we move through our week and as we move into exploring our autonomic nervous system, I invite you to have compassion and to support yourself in the ways that you need. Take your time with the information. Stop if you need to. And if it all feels too much, go and put your feet on the grass. I know it's really cold here at the moment in Australia, but it's really good for you and it's really grounding and really helps regulate that energy. And if you can't do that, simply put your hands on your chest and your belly and just take a breath. Just a moment to pause in amongst the overwhelm, the chaos, and the disconnect. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope that you have found some nuggets here in our overview of the autonomic nervous system. Just to recap, we talked about the 3 organizing principles: hierarchy, neuroception, and co-regulation. And we went over an overview of the 3 states of the autonomic nervous system and the ladder: the dorsal vagal, the sympathetic, and also the ventral vagal part of our autonomic nervous system. I invite you to jump in and ask any questions in the comments below, or let me know how you've gone with this information as well. Or if you're noticing time and space in your week when you're in these different states, please feel free to share them with me as we are all on this journey together. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Don't forget to tune in on Sunday for our weekly wins, where we celebrate all of our wins for the week that was. And don't forget to check out Try It Tuesday for some nervous system regulation tips. Thanks for being here. It has been great to connect with you again. I am really enjoying dropping these videos for you, and it is feeling like a beautiful, nourishing anchor for me to check in with you all each Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday on the Authentic Alana YouTube channel. Have a wonderful week, everybody. Sending you so much co-regulation and lots of ventral vagal energy as we move through our week. Can't wait to see you again. Take care. Bye.